Part 1. They say if you love what you have everything you need. And for the better part of a decade, I believed that. My name's Jake Miller, 36, husband, homeowner, believer in loyalty, hard work, and the idea that if you treat someone right, they'll do the same. Jessica and I met in college. I was a junior, she was a sophomore, and the first time I saw her was in the library, arguing with the printer. It ate her paper and spit out some other guy's thesis. She cursed under her breath, and I laughed. Not at her, just at the moment. Life back then felt lighter. She turned, glared at me, then cracked a grin. I offered her my printer credit and a coffee. She said yes to both. We never really stopped talking after that. We got married young by today's standards. Me 28, her 27. Bought a little 3-bedroom house just outside Indianapolis. She got a job in marketing at a growing tech firm. I climbed the ranks in logistics, managing warehouse operations for a national retailer. Not glamorous, but I was good at it. We were a team. Shared goals, shared bills, shared dreams. Mornings were slow but sweet. I'd make coffee while she did her makeup at the kitchen table. We played the same Spotify playlist for years, some soft indie, some classic rock, the occasional guilty pleasure track we'd never admit to liking. When she laughed, really laughed, she'd scrunch her nose and toss her head back. I lived for that laugh. We weren't flashy. We didn't need elaborate dates or expensive gifts. Saturday nights were for couch time, takeout, bad movies, and her feet in my lap. She had this way of getting comfy that somehow took up 90% of the couch, and I never minded. Sunday mornings? French toast, pajamas till noon, and occasionally, sex that felt like when we first started dating. Intense, playful, full of unspoken, I still choose you energy. She was beautiful, in that kind of way that made you stare longer than you meant to. Not just looks. Presence. She carried herself like she knew who she was. Confident, but never arrogant. People noticed her. Men noticed her. I noticed them noticing, but it didn't bother me. I trusted her. We talked about kids now and then. Nothing serious. Names came up, nursery colors. She said she wasn't quite ready. I said I'd wait. We weren't in a rush. There was time. Life felt stable, and in a world that always felt like it was spinning too fast, that was gold. Our marriage wasn't perfect, but it was solid. We laughed a lot, touched often, and apologized when we screwed up. We never yelled. That was our rule. Talk it out, even when it sucked. And it worked. Or I thought it did. Her job was demanding. She worked under this guy named Brandon. Vice president of whatever. Big title, big ego. She used to complain about him a lot. How he was dismissive in meetings, how he micromanaged, how he had no personal boundaries. I didn't like the way she talked about him, but not because it sounded flirty. It didn't. It sounded like she hated the guy. I told her to watch her back, play it smart, keep work at work. Looking back, maybe that was my first mistake, trusting too easily, not questioning the shift when her work stress started becoming an excuse for everything. But at the time, I chalked it up to ambition. She wanted to prove herself, and I respected that. Vacations were rare, but we always made the most of them. A week in Asheville, a long weekend in Chicago, once even a last-minute trip to Mexico, where we drank too much tequila and danced barefoot on the beach like idiots. Those memories stuck. They felt like proof we were doing it right. Building something. Living the good life. Our friends called us goals. I'd see how they looked at us at dinner parties, laughing, trading stories, always touching in some small way, her hand on my knee, my arm draped around her. I thought we were the real thing. The kind of love that aged well. And if you'd asked me then, 6 months ago, a year ago, I would have said she was happy. That we were happy. Because when you're in the middle of it, really in it, you don't see the cracks until they turn into fractures. You don't hear the silence growing louder until the laughter fades. And you don't realize the woman you kiss goodnight is already halfway gone. But back then, I didn't know any of that. Back then, we were just Jake and Jessica, living the good life. Part 2. It didn't happen overnight. There wasn't some dramatic shift. No slammed doors. No screaming matches. Just little things. Barely noticeable at first. But that's how it always starts, right? You don't see the cliff until you're already halfway down. It started with the way she stopped looking me in the eye. We'd be talking about bills, dinner plans, the dog needing a vet appointment, and she'd nod, but her eyes would flick to her phone, to the window, to anything but me. I told myself it was stress. Her job was demanding. She had a big campaign launch, late meetings, early mornings. I chalked it all up to that. I made excuses for her so I didn't have to ask myself the real questions. Jessica used to be tactile. She'd brush my arm when she passed by, kiss my neck while I cooked. That started fading. I remember one night, we were watching TV, and I reached for her hand. She pulled it away like it was reflex. Not aggressive. Just distant. Like she didn't even register it. I laughed it off, but it felt like I'd touched a ghost. Then came the phone. Always face down. Always locked. Always attached to her hand like a second limb. She never used to care. We'd scroll through photos together, play dumb mobile games, even snoop on each other's Instagram DMs just to mess around. That stopped. She started taking her phone with her into the bathroom, into the closet, to take out the trash. She got protective, and that was new. I remember asking her one night, "Everything okay?" She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Yeah, babe. Just tired." Tired became her favorite word. Too tired for date night. Too tired for sex. Too tired to talk. I was patient at first, thought maybe she was going through something. I even asked if she wanted to see someone, talk to a therapist. She snapped, "I'm not broken, Jake." Jesus. And that was the end of that. I tried harder. Started cooking more, planning little surprises. I brought home her favorite wine one Friday night, lit some candles, even made dinner. She came in, looked around, and said, "This is sweet, but I have a headache." She didn't touch the wine. She didn't touch me. She didn't even sit down. The worst part? I believed her. Until I didn't. It was a Thursday night when I noticed the second coffee cup. She always left early for work, and I'd clean up after. That morning, there were 2 cups in the sink, hers, and another with lipstick that wasn't her shade. She wore burgundy. This one was pale pink. I stared at it like it might explain itself. When I asked her about it later, she said, "Oh, I had a meeting early. Brandon came by to prep some slides." Brandon. Her boss. The same Brandon she used to complain about. Now he's coming over before sunrise for coffee? Something didn't sit right. But I said nothing. Not yet. I was still clinging to the version of us that laughed at rom-coms and slow danced in the kitchen. The version where my wife loved me. But things kept piling up. She stopped wearing her necklace, the one I gave her on our anniversary. Claimed it was being cleaned. For 2 weeks. Then said she lost it. I searched the entire house. Trash bins. Drawers. Nothing. Her work events started multiplying. Client dinners. Late-night meetings. Weekends where she said she had to fly out last minute. No selfies. No, wish you were here. Just radio silence until she got home, jet-lagged and cold. I asked if I could come with her once. You'd think I'd asked to tag along on her girls' night. It's a professional trip, Jake. What would you even do there? I don't know, Jess. Maybe be your husband. But I didn't say that. I just nodded, swallowed the lump in my throat, and went back to pretending like everything was fine. And then came the intimacy drought. It's not about sex, not really. It's about what comes with it: connection, trust, presence. I could count the times we were together in the last 2 months on one hand. And when we were, she felt elsewhere. Her body was there, but her head was miles away. I stopped trying. Not out of spite. Out of self-preservation. One night, lying in bed, I rolled over and whispered, "Do you still love me?" She didn't answer. Not yes. Not no. Just silence. That was the moment I knew something was breaking. I didn't want to believe it. Still don't, if I'm being honest. But when the person you built your life with starts feeling like a roommate who won't look you in the eye, it's hard to ignore. I kept waking up at 3 a.m., staring at the ceiling, wondering what I'd missed. Wondering if I had done something wrong. Maybe I'd stopped being interesting. Maybe I got too comfortable. But deep down, I knew. This wasn't about me changing. This was about her leaving. Not physically. Not yet. But emotionally? Jessica had already left the building. Part 3. I didn't find out by accident. I went looking. Not because I wanted to catch her doing something dirty, but because I needed to know if I was going crazy. Because that's what she made me feel like. Like I was overthinking. Paranoid. Clingy. I wasn't any of those things. I was a husband whose gut was screaming that something was very, very wrong. It started with her phone. Jessica never let it out of her sight. Even in the bathroom, it was there. At first, I thought maybe she was scrolling TikTok or reading articles, but one night, I walked by the crack in the door and saw her grinning at her screen. Not smiling, grinning. The kind of grin I hadn't seen directed at me in months. She didn't notice me standing there. I didn't say anything. Just quietly turned away and started thinking. 2 days later, she left it on the charger in the kitchen while she went to grab a package from the front step. I didn't hesitate. I picked it up. I wasn't proud of it, but I had a right to know. Locked. 4-digit passcode. She'd changed it. She used to joke that I was her backup brain, the one who remembered all the passwords. Suddenly, I was locked out. That was confirmation enough. But I wasn't done. I got smart. Bought a second phone. Installed software to mirror hers. It was easier than it should have been. A few YouTube videos, a clone setup, and by the next evening, every text, email, and app notification that hit her phone hit mine too. That's when the real unraveling began. It wasn't just Brandon. It was all about Brandon. They had a thread of texts, nothing over-the-top graphic, but it didn't need to be. It was the tone, the comfort, the little inside jokes that had no place between a married woman and her boss. Brandon, last night was unreal. Still thinking about it. Jessica, stop. I can still feel your hands on me. And just like that, my heart stopped. She told me she had a migraine that night. Went to bed early. I made her tea, kissed her forehead, told her I'd sleep on the couch to let her rest. Meanwhile, she was getting hands-on with Brandon. I read through every message, every photo, every pathetic heart emoji and suggestive line. My stomach turned. She told him things she hadn't told me in years. Called him B. Told him he made her feel alive again. I wanted to puke. Worse yet, I wasn't even angry at first. I was numb. Like the person I loved had died and someone else was walking around wearing her skin. But then came the anger. And with it, the need for answers. That weekend, I told her I was going out of town for a conference. Rented a hotel 5 minutes from our house. Left before dawn. She barely looked up from her phone when I kissed her goodbye. I waited in that hotel room for hours, glued to the live feed from the hidden cameras I'd installed a week prior, one in the living room, one in the kitchen, and one in the hallway that led to our bedroom. At 7:46 p.m., her front door opened. Brandon walked in. Like he owned the place. No hesitation. No checking windows. He even brought a bottle of wine. She greeted him in yoga pants, in that t-shirt she used to only wear for me, the worn one with my college logo on it. They kissed in the foyer. Kissed. In my house. Our house. The house I painted, repaired, and paid for. They laughed. Poured drinks. Made themselves at home on the couch. And eventually, they disappeared into the bedroom. The hallway cam caught enough to know what was happening. I shut the screen off. Couldn't watch anymore. That night, I didn't sleep. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat there in that dark hotel room, realizing my marriage wasn't cracked. It was obliterated. Every memory now felt like a lie. The anniversaries. The slow dancing. The whispered promises. All burned up in that one moment of betrayal. I replayed our years together like a movie, but the plot had changed. She wasn't my wife anymore. She was just someone I used to know. The next morning, she texted me. Hope your conference went well. Love you. I stared at the screen, at that stupid red heart emoji, and for the first time in my life, I felt nothing for her. Not love. Not hate. Just nothing. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. She had already said everything I needed to hear to someone else. Part 4. Revenge doesn't come easy to a guy like me. I'm not petty. I'm not cruel. But betrayal changes your chemistry. It rewires your soul. And when the woman you built a life with lets another man walk through your front door like he owns it, you learn real fast how much pain you're willing to swallow before you spit some back. The night I watched them disappear into our bedroom, something inside me turned off. Not snapped. Just flipped. The man who used to beg for affection, who played nice, who believed in working it out, he died in that hotel room. What replaced him was someone sharper. Focused. Cold. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to cry. I was going to burn their little fantasy from the inside out. Step 1. Gather everything. I copied the texts, emails, calendar events, every timestamped lie. I saved the camera footage to a hard drive and locked it in my toolbox at work. I made digital backups. Uploaded copies to cloud storage under a disguised file name. I wasn't going to confront her until I could hit her with undeniable proof, clean, neat, lethal. Step 2. Dig deeper. Turns out Brandon was married. Her name's Erica. 2 kids. A mortgage. And the cherry on top? He worked for the same company Jessica did, just a few floors up. I started putting together a package, screenshots, dates, videos, all wrapped up in a tidy little folder. I didn't want to blow up her life. No, I wanted her to blow it up herself. I wanted her to look in the mirror and realize she destroyed everything with her own 2 hands. I dropped the package anonymously to HR at their company. No name, no note, just a USB drive and a post-it that said, check the dates. Office policies still matter. 2 days later, Brandon was on leave. Jessica came home pissed off. Said her boss had been caught in a witch hunt. Claimed someone from the office must have had it out for him. I just nodded, sipped my coffee, said, that's crazy. She had no idea I was the one holding the matches. Step 3, the lawyer. I made an appointment with a divorce attorney. I walked in with everything. They took one look at the evidence and said, you'll walk out of this with your house, your assets, and your dignity. Good. That's all I wanted. The attorney advised me to act like nothing was wrong until the paperwork was ready. Keep her talking. Keep her comfortable. Let her believe she still held the cards. So I played the role. Smiled. Cooked dinner. Made small talk. I even let her initiate sex one night. And yeah, it was sick, but I let her do it. Not because I wanted her, but because I needed her to think she still had me wrapped around her finger. That was the last time I touched her. Step 4, the setup. I called in a favor from my buddy Mason. He owns a local catering business, does private events, fundraisers, weddings. I told him I wanted to host a small dinner at our house for Jessica's birthday. She loved playing the gracious hostess, so I played right into that. I invited her parents, her best friends, her coworkers, even a few mutuals who hadn't seen us in a while. Everyone got an invite. Casual, classy. Come celebrate Jessica, our queen of creativity. She ate it up. Spent the week leading up to it planning outfits and choosing tablecloths like we were on the Food Network. I just nodded and handed her the credit card. What she didn't know was that I also invited someone else. Erica, Brandon's wife. Step 5, the event. Dinner started smooth. Music, wine, polite laughs. Jessica was in her element, floating from guest to guest, acting like the betrayed wife of a scandalous workplace affair. The irony nearly choked me. Then Erica arrived. Jessica saw her at the door, blinked in confusion, and said, I think you're at the wrong house. Erica smiled and said, nope, pretty sure this is exactly where I'm supposed to be. And then I stood. Jessica, I said, raising my glass, since tonight is about celebrating you, I thought it would be the perfect time to show everyone exactly who you've become. I clicked the remote. The projector hummed. And there it was, texts, emails, calendar invites. Nothing explicit, just enough. Enough for her parents to gasp, for her friends to look away, for Erica to finally see the woman her husband had been sneaking around with for the last 8 months. Jessica stood frozen. Her wine glass slipped from her fingers and shattered on the hardwood. No one moved. Not even me. This, I said calmly, is why I won't be staying married to you. Silence. Then Erica stepped forward, slapped a manila folder onto the table, divorce papers. You'll be hearing from my lawyer too, she said. Jessica's lips parted, but no sound came out. I walked over, gently touched her shoulder, and whispered, checkmate. Then I left. Step 6, the exit. I had already moved my things to a storage unit. I stayed with Mason for a bit, then got my own place. Clean. Simple. Quiet. Jessica tried calling. Tried texting. I didn't block her. I just didn't care. She could scream into the void for all I cared. Her betrayal had earned her nothing but distance. I let the lawyer handle everything else. She lost the house. I kept it. She got stuck with half of Brandon's mess. And I got my soul back. Part 5. People love to say, time heals all wounds. But they never tell you what to do while you're bleeding. They don't tell you that the hardest part isn't the betrayal. It's waking up the next day, staring at the wreckage, and realizing that nobody's coming to pull you out of it but you. After Jessica, after Brandon, after the dinner that set the whole damn house on fire, I disappeared for a while. I wasn't hiding. I was regrouping. You don't walk out of war and stroll into a new life with a smile. You crawl. You limp. You bleed. But eventually, you stand. I found a place in the city. Brick loft, high ceilings, no memories. Just me and silence. It was deafening at first. No footsteps from the other room. No toothbrush next to mine. No stupid wine bottles with half a glass left. But eventually, the silence became peace. I didn't miss her. I missed the illusion of her. The version I thought I had. Not the woman who made me share a bed with her lies. I started training again. Every morning at 5 a.m., I hit the gym like it owed me money. I wasn't there to flirt. I wasn't there to post gym selfies. I was there to sweat the poison out. Rep by rep, mile by mile, I dragged the betrayal out of my blood and replaced it with iron. The weight room became my therapy. No one judged me there. No fake smiles. No backstabbing in high heels. Just steel, chalk, and grit. I focused on work. Took a promotion I once turned down to make more time for us. Funny how you give up things for someone who's already planning her exit. This time, I took everything I earned and didn't apologize for it. I bought a new truck. Got a dog, big, black, named Diesel. Loyal as hell and smarter than most of the people I used to call friends. And about friends, I cleaned house. Half the people we used to hang out with went silent after the split. Some stayed friendly with her. Others stayed quiet because they didn't know whose side to take. That told me all I needed. If you flinch when the fire hits, you're not built for my circle. My circle's smaller now. Tighter. Real. I don't date much. Not because I'm broken, because I'm choosy. I'm not bitter. I'm awake. You don't get to smile sweet and lie through your teeth and expect me to pretend I don't taste the venom. If a woman's not bringing peace, loyalty, and backbone to the table, she doesn't get a seat at mine. Jessica? She tried to reach out a few months back. No apology. Just a soft, pathetic, hey. I've been thinking about you. I left her on read. Not because I was angry. Because I was done. I found out through a mutual that Brandon's wife took everything. He lost his job, his wife, his kids. The little office romance that was exciting ended up being a torpedo through the whole of his entire life. Jessica didn't end up with him. She didn't end up with anyone. Apparently, she's in therapy now, trying to figure out who she is. Here's a clue. You're a trader in designer heels. But I'm not bitter. I was. Now I'm bulletproof. Because the truth is, betrayal either buries you or builds you. And I chose the second. I took every moment she made me feel small and used it to carve a stronger version of myself. The man I am now? He doesn't beg for affection. He doesn't question his worth. He damn sure doesn't tolerate disrespect wrapped in perfume and pretty lies. I stopped asking why. Why she did it. Why she changed. Why the vows meant nothing. None of that matters anymore. What matters is me, the man who walked through hell and didn't stay burned. The man who now lives on his own terms. Who wakes up every morning with no guilt, no fear, no chains. I thought love was about sacrifice. I learned it's about standards. I thought marriage meant safety. I learned it means nothing without loyalty. I thought she was forever. I was wrong. But that's the thing about hitting rock bottom. It teaches you to stop building foundations out of sand. No, I'm building on granite. And I don't look back. So if you're out there, reading this, living in the middle of your own personal war, hear me when I say this. You'll survive. You'll rebuild. And one day, you'll wake up, pour yourself a cup of coffee in a quiet house, pet the dog at your feet, feel the strength in your own skin, and you'll smile. Not because you won, but because you didn't lose yourself in the process. And that's the real comeback. The end.